special IDA board meeting. Thanks everyone for making adjustments here. I'm not gonna be here on the 24th, and so there's some time-sensitive issues that I wanted to get in front of you before the month of April, really. So we're gaining some time here. The main issue for today is to discuss the proposed resolution in support of the IDA retaining the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council to undertake a comprehensive plan for the village of Ovid. Let me give you some background on this. As most of you know, there was a fire in the village of Ovid a little over a year ago. The town formed a local development corporation, an LDC, very much like the recently formed LDC for the county. There were 7 members on that LDC. I'm the vice chair of it. The goal of that LDC is to revitalize the economy of Ovid, the town, with a early focus on redeveloping the block that burned in January of '25. One of the initiatives that the village wants to undertake is an application for something called a New York Forward grant. So New York State has 2 types of grants. One is called the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. The other is called New York Forward. The DRI grants are $10 million. Geneva's received them. One, I think Waterloo and Seneca Falls each have received that amount. Watkins Glen down in Schuyler County has also. The DRI grants go to larger communities. The New York Forward grants go to smaller communities. And the process is very similar. You put together an application. Takes about 6 months, I'm told. The state doesn't want to give money unless it sees that you have done your homework. And the process, the application process is actually pretty extensive. One of the conditions of the application is that there be a comprehensive plan for the community that is submitting the application. And the village of Ovid does not have a comprehensive plan. So, in order to qualify, the village needs a comprehensive plan. The village mayor, the town supervisor, and the Ovid LDC met with the executive director of the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Development Council, Rich Sutherland, about a month ago. Rich Sutherland said he's busy doing comp plans, but he thinks he could fit one in between now and the deadline for submitting the New York Forward grant, which is basically the last week of October. So, the village lacks the capacity. That's, I think, the term of art. The village has not done a comprehensive plan. It doesn't have the staff or the capacity to undertake one. It is not, it has no excess fund there's not a lot of money lying around to undertake a comprehensive plan. So the LDC has no money either. So what I proposed was that the IDA contract with the Regional Planning Council on behalf of the village and assume the cost up to $15,000 of a $23,000 comprehensive plan effort. The village will be meeting on Wednesday to vote to contribute $4,000 to this process, and the town will be meeting also on Wednesday to commit to another $4,000. So the IDA is committing to undertake the contract with the Regional Planning Council It's also expecting to be reimbursed to the tune of $8,000, making the total outlay for the IDA of $15,000. The IDA has not done this kind of thing before. You can make the argument, there's a couple arguments for this. I think there are arguments for doing this because it's ultimately an economic development initiative that, if successful, will lead to economic development both for the village and the town, but also generate additional tax revenue for the county. And if it really fully materializes, the IDA can participate and also generate agency fees out of it. So the benefits of this are potentially widespread. The precedent that's being set here is typically the IDA does not do this kind of funding. So, okay, that's the point. Second is, it sets a precedent that any community that wants to do a comprehensive plan might come with their hands out to the IDA to also help fund it. That may happen. That may actually be a good idea, I think, because there are a lot of places that don't have plans that probably could use them all for the same reason that the village of Ovid needs one. So, the resolution on the table, thank you for it. It's comprehensive, accurate, timely, all of the above. And so I'll open the discussion to I guess we need a motion to adopt this resolution and a second, and then we can discuss it. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
Motion to adopt. Second.
All right, let's discuss it. Any thoughts?
This matrix, it's a draft.
Well, the matrix is a separate topic. This is a separate topic, but it's related, I think.
Right. It gives us a framework to determine if other agencies come before us, how we grade this out or weigh it out.
Well, so this matrix, if I read it correctly here, applies to the recently defederalized revolving loan funds. And those revolving loan funds are eligible to be used for this process. Yes. Sarah, do you want to add anything to this?
Sure. So as you pointed out, Tom, this is just a draft framework for the board's consideration. But we felt it would be a good idea before the decision is, made to start allocating funds to projects that you have some sort of consistent, let's say, criteria or rubric that you can use to help, make that judgment. So this is a two threshold rubric. One is just to make sure that a project passes basic threshold requirements, including that it's, in alignment with what we're allowed to do statutorily from the state, that it's allowed based on the requirements that we still have from the federal government. So even though we don't have to do single audits anymore on our loans, and we won't have to do the semi-annual reporting on the loan program, we do still have to follow certain guidelines. Mostly the funds cannot be used for housing projects, and they cannot be used for mixed use or adaptive reuse. They're really EDA's view, which is the Economic Development Administration. Their view in terms of the oversight of these funds is very traditional economic development. So while we here have broadened our scope, and I think in general the industry is trending toward a broader scope of things like housing and workforce and all of those pieces contributing to the overall health of our economy, EDA is very much, they want us investing in projects with the federal portion of the funds that are going to contribute to more traditional, job creators coming here and growing their business sort of thing. Our loan program was about was it about 75%, Kelly, 70%, 75% federal funds? So not all of the funds in there were federal. It means the portion that was not, the board can use sort of at its discretion, provided that it is aligned with IDA statutory requirements. So that's sort of the first stage here. The second stage of the evaluation is, scoring and weighing projects based on these different criteria. And obviously, we would love everybody's input on this matrix. If there are things you disagree with, or things you think should be weighted differently, or something you think should be added to this, we'd certainly like to take that into consideration. But that's essentially what is before you.
Other questions about this resolution?
I guess the only comment I have at the moment is on one of the scenarios you posed, right? Where does this open the IDA up to all the other towns and villages coming to the IDA with their hands wide open looking for money? Is there any, and I don't know what the Village of Ovid budget, I just went online to look for it and I don't see it listed. I know the town's budget looks like $1.5 million. But I mean, is there any thought to saying you either have to have a certain budget threshold to qualify for a program like this, or you have to, it's contingent on a certain percentage of the cost being reimbursed? I mean, like right now we're getting $8,000 hopefully back between the town and the village. I guess I don't know what the thought is in the future to kind of ward off everybody coming at IDA funding for the comprehensive. And maybe it's not a bad thing, but
I think it's a fair question, Jeff.
I just don't want to see the IDA budget drained on comprehensive plan.
Well, there is a view that maybe that is what the IDA ought to be doing, and that there are villages, and towns that do not have comprehensive plans. In the town of Lodi, there was an effort to undertake a comprehensive plan. The way it was undertaken was to send out a broad-based poll asking residents what they would like to see in the town. Someone kind of stacked the deck with a bunch of phony responses, and then it all just went nowhere as a result. And so I look at that as being an illustration of what I would call a lack of capacity. There's not a lot of track record. People don't know how to do this. And it's like a lot of other things. Once you do it once and you do it again and again, you get better at it. And Ovid's never done one for the village. They tried to do one for the town, and it really ran aground when, again, some vocal folks tried to hijack the whole process. So we can sit by and say, look, not our job, or we can sit and say, no, maybe this is economic development. And I think, in this case, I think there's a pretty clear, compelling issue in front of the town and village, which is this fire and the lack of a grocery store within 20 miles. So yeah, it's a little extenuating, but I can't say we have a clear, broad-based set of guidelines right now. I don't think we do. Ben?
Two things. What I see is missing in this matrix is something about the time element. That particularly this issue, the longer that lot sits empty in Ovid, the more it just is never going to happen. There is a time element here, and not just April getting something started, but there's a time element just for interest's sake. We're seeing it in Willard. The longer those buildings sit there, the harder it is. So that's a factor that I don't see in this matrix. The other thing is, what I've been impressed with just sitting on this board is that we are, as a board, here because they're asking for our judgment. And just as individuals, and it's nice if you have it all laid out and have rules to follow. We have lots of rules to follow, but bottom line is they're asking for our judgment right now at this moment in time. And Jeff, to your point, if other entities come to us, we can, as a board, whether we're still the same members or other members, they can just say, that was then, this is now, doesn't work. I mean, just because someone else gets it doesn't mean everybody gets it. For instance, money for a comprehensive plan. I'm recently on the board for the town of Covert, no comprehensive plan. And so I'm acutely interested in getting something like that set in place, because I realize that, it's looking down the road to have this in place now for opportunities we don't even know about. But with this, we do know what the opportunities are, and that's the ability to put a store, several stores back in place in Ovid and where there's a critical need for it. So it seems to me our mission, industrial development, that's exactly the kind of development that we are charged with supporting and taking the high risk. That's the other thing is, we're here because we are supposed to fill in where banks have turned people down so that we have that ability. Now, this really isn't a high risk. It's a small amount of money, relatively. It's funds that we have available, and it's not like we're deferring school taxes or something. That's a long-term thing. So it's a gamble, but I think it's a gamble worth taking.
Other comments?
I know, Bob, you in your town have a comprehensive plan.
We have an outdated one.
Yeah. And being on the town board in Fayette, we're in the process of almost implementing our third comprehensive plan. It's we've taken quite an extensive approach toward it. It's been 3 years in the making. We keep tweaking it as the environment that we live in and situations change. We're trying to accommodate a lot of different lakefront, agriculture, agritourism, tourism in general, businesses, and it's quite a lengthy process. And we've dedicated money to that in our town budget to facilitate this quest. So we're very close to finishing up our third comprehensive plan in the town of Fayette. Each time it's been updated. But going back to the framework of it, it's a guideline. It doesn't mean you can't get outside that guideline, but it needs to be, in my opinion, fluid. So you can change and adapt to the times that are current to your situation. And in this situation in Ovid, I just think it's imperative that we use any means we can to encourage development of some sort that can create jobs and serve the community in a larger capacity, and quite frankly, not to get to this north-south end, but to develop that south end corridor. I think it's really lacking. So.
The other way to look at these plans, whether it's this one or any that might follow, we have a 5-year revenue forecast for the IDA. And in order to achieve that forecast, we need projects in the pipeline. We don't have a very robust pipeline right now. And one of the ways to start creating and filling the pipeline is sitting down with the people that are in these communities and showing them what can be done if everybody gets on the same page. Part of what gives the IDA some authority here, if we're paying for this study, we have a right to be at the table. And I think if we're economic development focused, being at that table should lead to economic development in those communities. It's part of our responsibility too, I think.
And Bruce, just to that point, rumor or whatnot, I mean, the Bonifaglia Foundation is interested in putting a hotel along the canal front there. And I think they're looking for some guidance on how to achieve that. And I think that's where the IDA and maybe the LDC at the county level can come in and just sit down with these people and just kind of explain to them what's available to them in funding and how to go about reaching these goals that are out there rather than just letting it float around and nothing ever gets done. So I think it's imperative that we're the proactive catalyst to developing these conversations. And what that means, I'm not really sure, but I think it's a job that we're tasked with here. And since I've been on the board, I mean, I just don't see a lot of that happening. And it's not for lack of trying, I just think the environment that we live in this county is somewhat stagnant. Always relied on state funding or federal funding to produce entities that supply employment to a lot of people, and those are lacking now. And so we need to create those situations, whether it's just through conversations or just explaining to people how you go about reaching these goals.
You know, Tom mentions this hotel that Bonifiglia Foundation would like to see built on a piece of property just to the east, I guess, of the Women's Hall of Fame. Bob, you may be aware of this project. So the Bonifiglia Foundation has an executive director, Judy Wenzel. She's not an economic development professional, but she's been told, let's get this thing built. So she reached out to me and said, can we meet and look it over? And so it's a pretty ambitious project, but I think, as Tom said, she was looking for some guidance. So one of the things we did was put her in touch with pre-construction management services. So before you build a big project, Jeff, this is you're in the middle of this. You have to figure out what is it really going to cost. So I put her in touch with Lakeside Engineering. These are the folks, Jeff, that you've been working with, but also with LaChase and also with Wellover McGuire, so they can figure out, all right, if we want to build 81 rooms, how much is it really going to cost? And that's not only putting them together there, but then coming back to her and saying, okay, what did you learn? Who did you speak to? What did they tell you? How much is it going to cost to do those pre-construction estimates? I mean, it's the guy from Greater Rochester Enterprise, executive director there, Matt Hurlbut, says economic development is a team sport, meaning you gotta work with your neighbors and your colleagues to get these projects off the ground. It's not, the Bonifiglia Foundation, you could say, gee, they're backed by a very successful, deep-pocketed organization. They don't need our help. Well, in fact, they do, because they don't know how to do economic development in every aspect. And I think that's what we should be doing, and we should be doing it in a proactive way. And I think that's what this is a first step towards. Yeah, it's gonna cost us some money, but we have some skin in the game. We should have a seat at the table. Other comments? All right, are we ready to vote?
Mr. Heisen,
Yes.
Ms. Capelli,
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Tom Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Ms. Weiss,
Yes.
Mr. Cure, Mr. Lot, absent, motion carried.
Thank you. More to follow. Now, I request a motion to enter into executive session under Public Officers Law, Article 7, Section 105, for discussion on the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property where publicity could substantially affect the value, and to discuss the financial, credit, or employment history, or the financial, credit, or employment history of a particular corporation or matters leading to the approval of a contract for a particular corporation. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in executive session. Is there any other business we need to conduct? Is there a motion to adjourn? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in